question I get asked a lot is, are sex addicts narcissists?
Mm.
And so I know that there are some people in the field that will say that sex addicts are abusers, they're pure narcissists, they're really
Don't we
terrible,
have a podcast on that topic?
really terrible
I think
people,
we do.
Yeah.
right? So so this is not my belief. When I have had a true narcissist in my office, they do not stay long, because they can't look at themselves. They can't take any responsibility. Do sex addicts have narcissistic qualities? Well, yes.
Yes.
That I think I can, yes, that I agree to. So at the very beginning, this reaction of, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Would a true narcissist actually go there? Probably not. Probably all the defenses and walls would come up and they said, I didn't do anything wrong. This is your fault, actually. Could be the way that could go. So, yeah.
There, that letter that you read, there's another aspect of it that resonates for me, which is it starts out with the addict saying, you have done all these things to me. And what comes up for me is the importance of the addict being able to, the addict has not yet got to a point where they can understand, because of the partner's trauma, why these reactions and behaviors make sense from the partner's perspective. And that doesn't mean that the partner's behaviors are always kind, are always rational, are always appropriate. But they haven't yet got to that point of being able to understand where they're coming from. And if you can't understand it, in some ways it makes it difficult to forgive, because whether the partner's intent was to hurt the addict or not, the addict has experienced some pain around that. And they haven't yet been able to get to the point to say, I understand where that was coming from. It hurt me. I forgive you for hurting me in that way. And I'm going to move on.
I'm thinking about the addict forgiving themselves,
Mm-hmm.
As they're going through their recovery process. And what do you guys see addicts when they're working on their self-forgiveness? What are some problems that you see that they struggle with?
I see a lot addicts trying to, I think addicts, if we're thinking in terms of parts of ourselves, if I've got a part of myself that's an addict. So that's not all of me. There's times where I'm not acting like an addict, but there's times if I'm acting like an addict, or if I'm in active addiction, that I become a different person, or I show up differently. I think I found a lot of the guys I've worked with, or the people I've worked with, they want to kill that part. So I think some of the earlier barriers are, I want to destroy that part of me that did these things. So I think that's actually a barrier to get to self-forgiveness, because it's a part of me. We talked about internal family systems in a previous episode, which is worth checking out. And I think this idea, if usually the addiction comes as a way to try and protect self. Yeah. So it starts as a coping strategy in a healthier way, right? Or at least promises something. It becomes something else, and it becomes something that's problematic, but it didn't start there. So if I had my own trauma and abuse, and I learned to cope with that trauma or abuse, or my own emotional system that I can't manage with sexual activities, yeah, it became a problem and it became destructive. But I think, so I have to work through that, where it came from and the earlier wounds. Then I can forgive myself in a more compassionate way to say, yeah, this was a monster, it became a monster, but it didn't start that way. And it actually tried to protect me from other stuff. And if I can get to the stuff underneath it, that's where I can find true compassion and forgiveness myself.
In the last episode, we were talking about the concept of spiritual bypass, which is using faith and religion as a way to escape uncomfortable things, and instead of using it to support. And when you're saying that, which I think is very true, it reminds me that addicts might do the same thing with this 12-step and the addict part of them concept. I'm going to give all the negative stuff that I've done, all the uncomfortable things that I have to acknowledge. I'm giving that to the addict part. And I'm just going to say that addict part is bad and was awful, right, and I'm going to get rid of it. And then I don't have to sit and struggle with the impact of what I've done and the impact that behavior has had on me, on my partner, and on other people in my life.